We head into 2026, focus is starting to shift to the midterm elections. One that a lot of people have their eyes on is the race for U.S. Senate, as longtime Republican John Cornyn will try to regain the seat he's held for more than 20 years. Fox 7's Marco Bittnell joins us live now from the Capitol with the latest. Marco.
Alec, on both sides, we've seen a lot of high-profile names throw their hats into the ring to try and unseat Senator Cornyn. And with voting set to start here in just a matter of months, that race is already starting to heat up.
The stage set for a heated race for U.S. Senate in Texas. John Cornyn looking to regain the seat he's held since 2002, but some big names are standing in the way.
This is going to be one of the toughest elections that John Cornyn is going to face.
One of Cornyn's largest challenges stands in the form of Attorney General Ken Paxton. The two never mincing words, often going back and forth at each other online, with Paxton believing that Cornyn's 23 years in office has gone on for too long.
Many of the things that make John Cornyn such a strong politician and actually a strong general election candidate, his longevity, his service, his role in the leadership of the Republican Party, actually make him an object of skepticism in the Republican primary.
This is clearly the right decision for me to make, and this is why I am here today.
The two are set to be joined by Congressman Wesley of Houston, with the bloc believing that the race could come down to who's more aligned with President Trump's priorities.
It's going to be a commitment to the president's agenda. It's going to be about immigration and border security. And increasingly, it's probably going to have to be about what the Republican response is to affordability and how that looks in a state like Texas.
December polls show that the race could be close right to the end, with 29% of likely voters saying they would vote for Paxton, with Cornyn and Hunt tied at 24%.
It's all or nothing. It's now or never.
The Democratic primary seeing a last-minute entry from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, known as one of the party's most outspoken members. She'll find an opponent in State Rep James Talarico of Austin.
With Crockett and Talarico, you have two very different styled candidates, and it's going to be interesting to see, really in many ways, how the Democratic electorate reacts to both.
Both candidates on the campaign path in Houston earlier this week, with the key to victory potentially in how they tackle economic issues in Texas.
I think they're going to lean into the pocketbook issues. They're going to lean into kitchen table issues. They're going to lean into affordability because currently the Republican Party is having a difficult time responding to that.
A December poll from Texas Southern University shows that 51% of likely voters would vote for Crockett, while 43% would vote for Talarico. Of course, we'll continue to keep our eyes on that as we draw closer to that March 3rd election day. Reporting from the Capitol, Marco Bittnell, Fox 7 Austin News.